Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, Amazing Creation by Sreja. Please like my video and share my video and subscribe my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon beside it to get the next notification. Today I want to share Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone chapter 4, The Keeper of the Keys. Boom, they knocked again. Dudley jerked awake. "Where's the cannon?" he said stupidly. There was a crash behind them, and Uncle Vernon came skiding into the room. He was holding a rifle in his hands. Now they knew what had been in the long, clean package he had brought with them. "Who's there?" he shouted. "I warn you, I'm armed." There was a pause, then smash! The door was hit with such force that it swung clean off its hinges and with a deafening crash landed flat on the floor. A giant of a man was standing in the doorway. His face was almost completely hidden by a long shaggy mane of hair and a wild tangled beard. But you could make out his eyes glowing like black beetles under all the hair. The giant squeezed his way into the hut, stooping so that his head just burst to the ceiling. He bent down, picked up the door, and fitted it easily back into its frame. The noise of the storm outside dropped a little. He turned to look at them all. "Could not make us a cup of tea, could you?" "It's not been an easy journey." He strode over to the sofa where Dudley sat frozen with fear. "Budge up, you great lump," said the stranger. Dudley squawked and ran to hide behind his mother, who was crouching, terrified, behind Uncle Vernon. "And here's Harry," said the giant. Harry looked up into the fierce, wild, shadowy face and saw there that the beetle eyes were clenched in a smile. "Last time I saw you, he was only a baby," said the giant. You look a lot like your dad, but we have got your mom's eyes." Uncle Vernon made a funny gasping noise. "I demand that you leave at once, sir," he said. "You were breaking and entering." "Ah, shut up, Dursley, you great dune," said the giant. He reached over the back of the sofa, jerked the gun out of Uncle Vernon's hands, bent it into a knot as easily as if it had been made of rubber, and threw it into a corner of the room. Uncle Vernon made another funny noise, like a mouse being trodden on. "Anyway, Harry," said the giant, turning his back on the Dursleys, "a very happy birthday to you. God's smart for you here. I might have sat on it at some point, but it will taste all right." From an inside pocket of his black overcoat, he pulled a slightly squashed box. Harry opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a large sticky chocolate cake with "Happy Birthday Harry" written on it in green icing. Harry looked up at the giant. He made to say that thank you, but the words got lost on the way to his mouth, and what he said instead was, "Who are you?" The giant chuckled. "True, I have not introduced myself. Rufus Hagrid, keeper of keys and crowns at Hogwarts." He held out an enormous hand and shook Harry's whole arm. "What about that tea, then, he said, rubbing his hands together. "I would not say no to so much stronger if we have got it in mind." His eyes fell on the empty grate with the shriveled chip bags in it, and he snorted. He bent down over the fireplace. They could not see what he was doing, but when he drew back a second later, there was a roaring fire there. It filled the whole damp hut with flickering light and Harry felt the warmth was over him as though he had sunk into a hot bath. The giant sat back down on the sofa, which sat under its weight, and began taking all sorts of things out of the pocket of his coat. A copper kettle, a square packet of sausages, a poker, a teapot, several chipmunks, and a bottle of some amber liquid that he took a swig from before starting to make tea. Soon the hut was full of the sound and smell of sizzling sausages. Nobody said a thing while the giant was working, but as he slid the first 6 fat, juicy, sticky burnt sausages from the poker, Dudley figured a little. Uncle Vernon said sharply, "Don't touch anything he gives you, Dudley." The giant chuckled darkly. "You great pudding of a son don't need fattening any more, Dursley. Don't worry." He passed the sausages to Harry, who was so hungry he had never tasted anything so wonderful, but he still could not take his eyes off the giant. Finally, as nobody seemed about to explain anything, he said, "I am sorry, but I still don't really know who you are." The giant took a gulp of tea and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "Call me Hagrid," he said. "Everyone does, and like I told you, I am keeper of keys at Hogwarts. You will know all about Hogwarts, of course." No," said Harry. Hagrid looked shocked. "Sorry," said Harry quickly. "Sorry?" barked Hagrid, turning to stare at the Dursleys, who shrank back into the shadows. "It's them as if to be sorry. I knew you were not getting your letters, but I never thought you would not even know about Hogwarts, for crying out loud. Do you never wonder where your parents learned it all?" "All what?" asked Harry. "All what?" Harry thundered. "Now wait just 1 second. He had leapt to his feet. In his anger, he seemed to feel the whole hut. The Dursleys were cowering against the wall. "Do you mean to tell me," he growled at the Dursleys, that this boy knows nothing about anything?" Harry thought this was going a bit far. He had been to school. After all, his marks were not bad. Oh, sorry. Were not bad. "I know some things," he said. "I can, do math and stuff." But Hagrid simply waved his hand and said, "About our world, I mean your world, my world, your parents' world." "What world?" Hagrid looked as if he was about to explode. "Dursley," he boomed. Uncle Vernon, who had gone very pale, whispered something that sounded like Mimsy. Hagrid stared wildly at Harry. "But you must know about your mom and dad," he said. "I mean, they were famous. You were famous." "What? My mom and dad were not famous? Were they?" You don't know." Hagrid ran his fingers through his hair, fixing Harry with a bewildered stare. "You don't know what you are," he said finally. Uncle Vernon suddenly found his voice. "Stop," he commanded. "Stop right now, sir. I forbid you to tell the boy anything." A braver man than Vernon Dursley would have quailed under the furious look Hagrid now gave him. When Hagrid spoke, his every syllable trembled with rage. "You never told him what was in the letter Dumbledore left for him." "I was there. I saw Dumbledore leave it, Dursley, and you have kept it from him all these years." "Kept what from me?" said Harry eagerly. "Stop! I forbid you!" yelled Uncle Vernon in panic. Aunt Petunia gave a gasp of horror. "Ah, go boil your heads, both of you," said Hagrid. "Harry, you are a wizard." There was silence inside the hut. Only the sea and the whistling wind could could be heard. Could be heard. I'm a what? Harry gasped. A wizard, of course, said Hagrid, sitting back down on the sofa, which groaned and sank even lower. And a thumping Goodum, I would say, once you have been trained up a bit with mum and dad like yours, what else would you be? And I reckon it's about time you read about your letter. Harry stretched out his hand at last to take the yellowish envelope, addressed in emerald green to Mr. H. Potter, the floor, her on the rock, the sea. He pulled out the letter and read. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Headmaster Albus Dumbledore ordered of Merlin First Class Grand Swords, Chuck Warlock, Supreme Mugwump, International Conflict of Wizards. Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all necessary books and equipment. Term begins on September 1st. We await your owl by no later than July 31st. Yours sincerely, Mabra McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress. Questions exploded inside Harry's head like fireworks and could not decide which to ask first. After a few minutes, he stammered, what does it mean? They await my owl. Gulping gorgles. That reminds me, said Hagrid, clapping a hand to his forehead with enough force to knock over a cart horse, and from yet another pocket inside his overcoat he pulled an owl, a real live, rather ruffled-looking owl, a long file and a roll of parchment. With his tongue between his teeth, he scribed a note that Harry could read upside down. Dear Professor Dumbledore, given Harry his letter, taking him to buy his things tomorrow. Weather's horrible. Hope you are well, Hagrid. Hagrid rolled up the note, gave it to the owl, which claimed it in his beak, went to the door and threw the owl out into the storm. Then he came back and sat down as though this was as normal as speaking on the telephone. Harry realized his mouth was opened and closed it quickly. Where was I? Said Hagrid. But at that moment, Uncle Vernon, still a sane face but looking very angry, moved into the firelight. He is not going, he said. Hagrid grunted. I'd like to see a great muggle like you stop him, he said. What? said Hagrid, said Harry, interested. A muggle? Said Hagrid. It's what we call non-magic folk like them, and it's your bad luck to creep up in a family of the biggest muggles I ever laid eyes on. We swore when we took him in we would put a stop to the rubbish, said the governor. Swore he would stamp it out of him. Wizards in it. She knew, said Harry. She knew I am a wizard. Knew, striked Aunt Petunia suddenly. Knew, of course we knew. How could you not be? My tratted sister being what she was. Oh, she got up later just like that and disappeared off to that school, and came home every vacation with her pockets full of frog spawn, turning teacups into rats. I was the only one who saw her for what she was, a freak. But for my mother and father, oh no, it was Lily this and Lily that. They were proud of having a witch in their family. She stopped to draw up the breath and then went ratting on. It seems she had been wanting to say all of this for years. Then she met that Potter at school and then left and got married and had you. And of course, I knew you'd be just the same, just as strange as abnormal. And then, if you please, she went and got herself blown up, and when we got landed with you. Harry had gone very white. As soon as he found his voice, he said, "Blown up? You told me they died in a car crash?" "Car crash?" roared Hagrid, jumping up so angrily that they just settled back to their corner. "How could a car crash kill Lily and James Potter? It's an outrage, a scandal." Harry Potter, not knowing his own story, when every kid in our world knows his name. "But why? What happened?" Harry asked urgently. Strange, the anger faded from Hagrid's face. He looked suddenly anxious. "I never expected this," he said in a low, worried voice. "I had no idea when Dumbledore told me there might be trouble getting hold of you. How much you did not know." Harry, I don't know if I am the right person to tell you, but someone's gotta. You can't go up to Hogwarts not knowing." He threw a dirty look at the others. "Well, it's best you know as much as I can tell you. Mind, I can't tell you everything. It's a great mystery. Parts of it." He said. He sat down, stared into the fire for a few seconds, and then said, "It begins, I suppose, with a person called, but it's incredible you don't know his name. Everyone in our world knows." "Who?" "Well, I don't like to say his name. If I can help you, no one does." "Why not?" Gulping gargoyles, Harry. "People are still scared. Blamely, this is difficult. See, there was this wizard who went as bad as he could go. Worse than worse. His name was..." Hagrid gulped, but no words came out. "Could you write it down?" Harry suggested. "Nah, can't spell it." "All right, Voldemort." Hagrid said, "Don't make me say it again. Anyway, this wizard, about 20 years ago now, started looking for followers. Got them, too. Some were afraid, some just wanted a bit of his power. Such of them wanted a bit of his power." "All right, doubt death, Harry. Do you know who to trust? Don't dare get friendly with strange wizards and witches." Strange wizards and witches. Strange wizards and witches and friendly with strange wizards and witches. Terrible things happened. He was taking over. Of course, some stood up to him and he killed them horribly. One of the only safe places left was Hogwarts. Record Dumbledore's, the only one you know who was afraid of, did not dare try taking the school. Not just then, anyway. Now, your mom and dad were as good as a witch and wizard as I ever knew. Head boy and girl at school, Hogwarts, in their day. Suppose the mystery is why you know who never tried to get them on his side before. Probably knew they were too close to Dumbledore to want anything to do with the dark side. Maybe he thought he could pursue them. Maybe he just wanted them out of the way. All anyone knows is he turned up in the village where he was on living on Halloween 10 years ago. He was just a year old. He came to your house and Hagrid suddenly pulled out a very dirty, spotted handkerchief and blew his nose with a sound like a foghorn. Sorry, he said, but it's that sad. Knew your mom and dad and nicer people you could not find anywhere. You know who killed them, and this is the real mystery of the thing. He tried to kill you too, wanted to make a clean job of it, I suppose, or maybe he just liked killing by then. But he could not do it. Never wondered how you got that mark on your forehead. That was no ordinary cut. That's what you got when a powerful evil curse touches you. Took care of your mom and dad and your house even, but it did not work on you. And that's why you're famous, Harry. No one ever lived after he decided to kill them. No one except you. And he killed some of the best witches and wizards of the age. The Macchianos, the Moons, the Privates, and she was the only a baby, and she lived. Something very painful was going on in Hagrid's mind. As Hagrid's story came to a close, he saw again the blind flash of green light more clearly than he had ever remembered it before, and he remembered something else. For the first time in his life, a high, cold, cruel love. Hagrid was watching him sadly. Took you from the ruined house myself on Dumbledore's order, brought you to this lot of old dolls, said Calvadon. Had he jumped and he had almost forgotten that the Dursleys were there. Uncle Vernon certainly seemed to have got back his courage. He was glaring at Hagrid and his fists were clenched. Now, you listen here, boy, he sneered. I accepted there's something strange about you. Probably nothing a good beating would not have cured. And as for all this, well, they were widows, no denying it, and the world's better off without them, in my opinion. Ask for all they got, getting mixed up with these wizarding types. Just what I accepted. Always knew they had come to a sticky end, but at that moment, Hagrid slipped from the sofa and threw a battered pink umbrella from inside his coat, pointing this at Uncle Vernon like a sword. He said, I am warning you to stay. I am warning you. One more word, in danger of being speared on the end of an umbrella by a bearded giant. Uncle Vernon's courage failed again. He flattened himself against the wall and fell silent. That's better, said Hagrid, breathing heavily and sitting back down on the sofa, this time sat right down to the floor. Harry, meanwhile, still had questions to ask, hundreds of them. But what happened to Wolf? Sorry, I mean, you know who. Good question, Harry. Disappeared, vanished. Same night, he tried to kill you, makes you even more famous. That's the biggest mystery. See, he was getting more and more powerful. Why go? Some said he died, cursed. In my opinion, do you know if he had enough human left in him to die? Some say he had till out there biding his time but I don't believe it. People who was on his side came back to ours. Some of them came out of kind of trances. don't reckon they could have done if he was coming back. Most of us reckon he is still out there somewhere but lost his powers. Too weak to carry on. Cause something about you finish him, Harry. There was something going on that night he had not counted on. I don't know what it was. No one does. But something about you stumped him. All right. Hagrid looked at Harry with a warmth and respect blazing in his eyes, but Harry, instead of feeling pleased and proud, felt quite sure that there had been a horrible mistake. A wizard? Him? How could we possibly? He would spend his life being clouded by Dudley and bearded by Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon. If he was really a wizard, why had not they been turned into vertitoads? Thinking about like a football. Hagrid, he said quietly. I think you must have made a mistake. I don't think I can be a wizard. To his surprise, Hagrid chuckled. Not a wizard? Yeah, never make things happen when you was scared or angry. Harry looked into the fire. Now he came to think about it. Every odd thing that had ever made with his aunt and uncle furious with him had happened when Harry had been upset or angry, chased by Dudley's gang. He had somehow found himself out of their reach, dreaming going to school with this ridiculous haircut. He had managed to make it grown back, and the very last time Dudley had hit him, had not the seat a boa constrictor on him. Harry looked back at Hagrid, smiling, and saw that Hagrid was positively beaming at him. See, said Hagrid, Harry Potter not a wizard? You wait, you will be right famous at Hogwarts. But Uncle Vernon was not going to leave without a fight. Have not told you he was not going. He's going to Stonewall High, and he will be grateful for it. I have read those letters, and he needed all sorts of rubbish, spell books and wands, and if he wants to go, a great muggle like you won't stop him, growled Hagrid. Stop Lily and James Potter sons not going to Hogwarts. You match his name's been down ever since he was born. He's off to the finest school of witchcraft and wizardry in the world. 7 years there, and he won't know himself. He will be the youngest of his own sort for a change, and he will be under the greatest headmaster Hogwarts ever had, Albus Dumbledore. I'm not paying for some crackpot old fool to teach him magic tricks, yelled Uncle Vernon. But he had finally gone too far. Hagrid seized his umbrella and whirled it over his head. Never, he thundered. Insert Albus Dumbledore in front of me? He brought the umbrella squishing down through the air to point at Dudley. There was a flash of violent light, a sound of a crackpot, a firecracker, a sharp squeal, and the next second, Dudley was dancing on the spot with his hand clasped over in his fat bottom, howling in pain. When he turned his back on them, Harry saw a curly pig's tail poking through a hole in his trousers. Uncle Vernon roared, pulling Aunt Petunia and Dudley into the other room. He cast one last terrified look at Hagrid and slammed the door behind them. Hagrid looked down at his umbrella and stroked his beard. should not to lose my temper, he said ruefully. But it did not work anyway. Meant to turn him into a pig. But I suppose he was too much like a pig. Anyway, there was not much left to do. He cast a sideway look at Harry, wondered his bushy eyebrows. He grateful if you did not mention that to anyone at Hogwarts. He said, I am not supposed to do magic. Strictly speaking, I was allowed to do a bit to follow you and get your letters to you and stuff. One of the reasons I was not keen to take on the job. Why are not you supposed to do magic? Asked Harry. Oh, well, I was at Hogwarts myself, but I got expelled to tell you the truth. I'm third year. They snapped me once in half and everything, but Dumbledore let me stay on as gamekeeper. Great man, Dumbledore. Why were you expelled? It's getting late and you have got lots to do tomorrow, said Hagrid loudly. Gotta get up to town. Get all your books and that. He took off his thick black coat and threw it to Harry. You can keep it under that, he said. Don't mind if it wriggled a bit. I think I still got a couple of dormice in one of the pockets. Okay, today I have finished. Please like my video and subscribe my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon beside it to get the next notification. Thank you. Bye bye. Wish you a very happy